right in front of you that are unoccupied by anybody. Is that our people are living in majority without what you can call real estate. Because when we talk about real estate in Nigeria, people think it's about renting out houses, getting agents and paying to get the house. It's a lot more than that. Real estate is the value of land and whatever is built on it. If you add the Nigerian system of real estate system to it, I think real estate for those of us on this side, politicians, is land, the house built on it, and the amount of cash kept inside the house. That is Nigeria's meaning of real estate. But it's way more than that. It is a very, very important part of life to have a roof over your head. And it's also a very important part of life to have decent accommodation for citizens. When I was detained in 2019, my cell overlooks Asokoro. That's the part of the town that I see all the time when I wake up. It's the only part I could see from the window. And I was on the first floor. And I saw that there are plenty of houses in that part of town, but I don't see plenty of people coming out of those houses. I would expect that, considering the number of houses that I see every morning, far from myself, by the way, that there will be massive population of persons coming in and out. You see human activity. So I called one of the DSS guys one morning and I said, why is it that there are plenty of houses here, but I don't see people? He said, let me explain this to you. There are over 6,000 houses right in front of you that are unoccupied by anybody. Nigerian rich politicians, connected, private individuals just build these houses and abandon them. Well, maybe they don't abandon, they have things that they keep in there. Whereas you go to other parts of Abuja, on the outskirts in particular, there are plenty of people, no houses. So why should that be the case? It is because they define real estate according to what we know as luxury. And they cannot afford to keep people there or allow people to stay in those places because for them it's real estate. And what is real about it is because it has value. So even if they were to want to open the houses to anybody for rent, they cannot, the rent that most people will pay for houses, most people can afford it, will not even be able to cover for the value of what is in there in this real estate and properties. The same thing I know of Lagos and other parts of the country. And our own party, the African National Congress, and my person, looked at it and said, part of Nigeria's problem is that we like inequality. And don't let us deny it. Most people like luxury, Nigerians. And sometimes people prefer that their houses are unoccupied and to have a certain type of people, and especially people they consider poor people who cannot afford to live in these places. And it is also the reason why our rental system is almost criminal in nature. Why do I say so? Somebody is going to have to pay for 3 years to find a place to live anywhere in Nigeria. The reason is that the landlord, as we know them, owners of this real estate, just don't trust you. They don't trust the majority of the citizens that they will keep paying on a monthly basis. The citizens themselves also don't have the means most times to pay on a monthly basis because there are no jobs. There are no sufficient income for most Nigerians to pay on a monthly basis. Mostly a lot of Nigerians in huge quantity are just doing what we call hustle. You know, you make it one day at a time. So the landlord's law, in an attempt to also level up to the hustling majority, imposes rent, which is almost like a penalty. I don't call rent in Nigeria rent, it's penalty. You are penalized for being poor. Yes, that's why somebody will ask you to come and pay for a house for 3 years. If they knew that you will make it in 1 year, why would they ask you to pay for 3 years? And if you can make it in 1 year, it means that your mobility to a higher level of better housing is there. But you know, a lot of people live in these houses for 15 years. And I'm telling you the general story of our country with regards to housing. And when we come to the level of resolution of our housing crisis, the last time anybody tried to resolve a housing crisis in Nigeria was actually here in Lagos. You know, I'm not talking about today's Lagos, the real Lagos of those days. When a man known as Latif Jakon engaged in mass housing for the people. And he made sure that the housing that was available was different level of income housing. They have low-income housing, etc. I think they have medium income housing. But today, Nigeria has not embarked on any that I know kind of mass housing that can cope with the rising population of the country called Nigeria. What we've had is luxury kind of private housing. And that means a lot of people have been cut off from the housing sector, the real estate sector. The reason why real estate is important, the work we are doing, is that real estate gives people a variety of opportunities. The moment you have it, is one big asset for which you can carry out banking transactions. You can do a lot of things with it. You can use it to secure loans. You can even use it as a means of investment in life. So you see how much Nigerians have been cut off from development. I was telling the housing story of the penalty of rent. When rent became one of the biggest problems in Lagos, and tenants and landlords weren't getting along, the judiciary got involved in this Lagos. When people were given quick notices and they didn't leave, the tenants, the landlords of Lagos, will go and find a fake person to appear before the magistrate and accept that they are moving out of the house. And there's another set of enforcers, mixture of police officers and area boys, who will come there and push you out of the house, brandishing a judgment from the magistrates. Most times we then found out that those judgments are not real because the so-called defendants were not the ones before the judges. So why is it then that since 1980, Nigeria hasn't, since the period of the UPN government, Nigeria hasn't paid attention to housing? It happened that when the military came, they subscribed to the structural adjustment program policies of the World Bank and the IMF. The World Bank, as you know, is here to prepare Nigeria for dumping ground for all kinds of policies from their own side. The IMF I used to refer to as the international monetary fraud. And these policies, structural adjustment program, specifically required of the military that they have no business providing housing for Nigerian citizens. I used to live in Festac. Festac could qualify for any streets in an average US city. They had parks where kids could play. They had traffic lights in the entrance to Festac. They used to have a security gate that was well manned. There used to be a bus system in Lagos that goes into Festac, that goes to all the avenues, closes, everything in Festac. In those bus systems, up to almost the late 80s, they had a ticketing system, a ticketing machine, and most of you were not around in those days. I'm sorry, I'm not indicting the new generation of children of democracy that started their life in 1999. I have been around for quite some time. So everything was ordered. Festac also had a cleaning system where before you wake up in the morning, the streets are completely clean. But with the advent of the structural adjustment program and our rugged guys in the military, they destroyed everything they found, including the parks in Festac were the first thing they went after. Yes, they also had a waterway system in Festac to Lagos Island, where most people had great jobs in those days. They went after that. They went after every social amenities they could find. Festac had water regardless of the floor you were on in Festac. I'm not using Festac as an example of housing in those days for medium income and low income people. You could also use Festac. Festac, by the way, was not built by Jack London. It was built by Obasanjo for one of the most wasteful cultural events in Africa that they did, the Festival of Arts and Culture, where one of also the biggest corruption used to happen is they call cement Amanda, where they imported cement to Nigeria that never left the ships. But the reason why they did Festac was because Nigeria was making so much money during the oil boom. Gowon announced during the oil boom that Nigeria has so much money, it doesn't know what to do with it. And they decided to go and do something with it, which was waste it. I did not stop, I did not waste money on Festac. I did concentrated on housing alone. I think Nigeria would have been built to one of the best standards of an African nation today, probably South Africa. So I'm giving you these stories to let you know where the rain started beating with the Nigerian people. That all these policies that you see that have deprived Nigerians of housing, education, healthcare, were properly planned to produce the Nigeria today that you are all in. A Nigeria where majority of the citizens don't go to school, don't have access to hospital, are generally ignorant. A Nigeria where they weaponize poverty so that everybody can be whipped into line. So, Festac was that example. And I think as part of the future of housing, real estate in this country, where private developers have now become king, we must return to not low income or medium income housing, but mixed income housing. What is it? Yes, if you want to build a real estate, as we normally call it, private, is it the PPP, public-private partnership. I don't want to use that capitalistic word so much. Anybody who wants to get involved must recognize that every Nigerian, as a matter and fact of equality, should be able to live in an estate where poor people live, rich people live, and medium income people live. Mixed housing is the solution. The reason is that it will help us address inequality. Those powerful people will make sure, in most cases, that the real estate bills will be properly maintained because they are the ones in power. And we must enforce it such that there is no way out of it. If government must put money in real estate and housing, it must also enforce that all citizens have access to all levels of housing, so that the children of the poor can meet the children of the rich in the park. And because we must build these recreational parks in those places. And that will also ensure that everybody who has access to this kind of housing will have some level of security in their lives and assets that they can call their own. So that everybody don't belong to the rich in the country. And you know, part of the stupid things rich people do in Nigeria that makes me feel surprised all the time is Nigerian rich people love to drive nice cars. Big cars. In fact, there are cars that are in Nigeria that have no business being in Nigeria, like Tesla. You know, if you don't have electricity, what are you doing with Tesla? One broke down on the top mainland. I'm like, how are you going to push it out of here? You can't find a mechanic that will treat it. You don't have electricity to charge it. What are you doing with Tesla in Nigeria? It doesn't make sense. The second aspect of it is you buy nice cars and you stupidly forget the road upon which to drive it. Does it make sense? No. It's the same thing with housing. Somebody wants to stay in a house, just one person wants to stay in a house that could take 100 people. It doesn't make sense. You can only sleep in one bed, you use one living room, and one toilet. So, to achieve that kind of mass housing we are talking about, instead of one man taking over a street and building a house that should be a university, you understand? So we should just have hotel-like buildings, take over a whole block, build and let everybody stay in one room or 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, like they do in Spain. Because the interesting thing about Europe is that they don't have land, but they have houses. The interesting thing about Africa is that we have lands, but we don't have houses. So, common sense must return to governance in Nigeria. Somebody say amen. Because this is the only way we can continue to address backlog of institutional injustices and misgovernance that have deprived our people the life that they deserve. And you look at another thing rich people do is that they always think that they can escape from poor people. It's not possible. And Victoria Land and Ikoyi and Lekki tells you the story. They ran to, the first place they started was the GRA Keja. Poor people drove them out of the place. They came to Ikoyi. Poor people followed them. You know, they came to Victoria Land. They followed them there. Now they are now in Banana. Poor people have also followed them there, including village people. Because the place is always flooded. No matter how big the houses are. It's not village people. It's lack of planning, lack of common sense. And you cannot live on an island that is surrounded by water and think that it will not flood when you have no drainage systems. It's going to flood. And when it floods, the fishermen who have been pouring waste in the Lagos Lagoon, their waste will reach you too. When your house is flooded, you cannot tell what kind of water comes into your living room. It's the urine of the poor, the rich, particularly the urine of the poor. They are the ones traveling, you know, and the excreta. They are the ones traveling in this lagoon. Because why? You refuse to build proper toilets for them. If they have their houses, they have toilets, and you have a sewage system, which used to be the case in Lagos. You will not have their urine in your living room in Banana Island when it floods. So you can't run away from poor people. And then you still have to use the poor people for cooking. And you want them to go back to your Yanopaja at night when they are done in your house. You want them to be your nannies. And you don't know that people who hate you don't care about your children. Because you don't care about their children too. Yes, that's the truth. You can't go anywhere if you have plenty of poor people. They will follow you there. It doesn't matter how fast you run. So we have to address these issues urgently. But the way to address it is to think of the majority of our people as worthy of the investment that the little they get. The reason I say so is that you probably know that there are over 128 million Nigerians that have bank accounts, right? And all of 99% of the accounts, by the way, are secured through the NDIC. The NDIC announces happily every year that your money is safe in any bank you keep it. Do you know why? Because 99% of Nigerians don't have up to 500,000 naira in the account. So it's very convenient for the NDIC to secure 500,000, 200,000. They'll secure it. Now, assuming that we are doing well, NDIC will not be able to secure. If I have 10 million naira, 100 million naira, if 90% of Nigerians have 100 million naira, it will be difficult to secure it by the NDIC. But it's easy to secure all these 10,000, 2,000 like that. It's true. It's difficult to secure real estates that are good, that are valuable, because your premiums too will be very high. But as it is, the Nigerian government can secure all the houses from Lekki here up to Songota, because the houses don't really worth much. That's the truth. Because houses don't have, real estates don't add value if the economic system is not working. And you might argue this, that maybe they do. But those of you who are in the real estate sector, ask yourself, how many of the real estates that you work with really worth something if it is not in this geographical area of the rich? That's the truth. The real estate, when we talk about real estate developers or the real estate sector, like I said, we are not talking about agents, although they are part of the chamber, or the ecology of real estate. We are talking about what is built and what is worth, and if it is modern enough to worth something. And I also must say that it is not every newly built house that worth more. There are a lot of old houses that worth a lot if they are properly maintained and if they sit in the right part of town, right part of things. The other part is also to look at it and understand that life doesn't start and end in the cities. The rural areas are also in need of real estate development. Because I can tell you that there are some villages in Nigeria that all the real estate they are not worth one house on Banana Island. My village, particularly in Ondo State, I'm looking at all the houses, because they haven't had an opportunity to add. The government of Nigeria hasn't added value to the rural areas. I was born in 1971. I have never experienced electricity before in my village. My village doesn't have electricity. As of today, almost every part of India has gotten electricity. Even if the house is floating on the river, they will put electricity on it. Because they have diversified their source of electricity. It is no longer waiting for the rainy season for Kanji Dam to get plenty of water. They are using tidal, they are using wind, they are using solar. In some places, they are using coal, clean coal. And also, it's also very important, and I say this, that Lagos, even though it's one of the best glorified ghettos in the world, has presented us with all, energy sources. Yes, waste in Lagos alone, if properly managed, can generate nothing less than 1,000 to 2,000 megawatts of electricity. Just waste. Biomass. Because all the houses in Lagos generate a good amount of waste on a daily basis. Whether it's poor waste or rich waste. Waste is waste. And if we build a waste management system properly and process waste, that will be something that can add value to Lagos, because it will then provide a huge number of houses with electricity, power, energy. And the other very important aspect of it is how investing in real estate by the state now, by the Nigerian state, also will be a great opportunity for employment for a lot of people. I studied geography and planning at the University of Lagos. Strike or no strike, I also spent 6 years in the university. But our own were the ones causing the strike, were the ones striking against the military. So they kept us in school for a long time. And my only ambition in life, I didn't have much, I didn't intend to get into this much trouble. It was to finish in 1993, go to do NYC, get married and have all my kids before I turned 30, because I was supposed to have graduated at the age of 22 from the University of Lagos. But Nigeria happened to me, just like it happened to most of you. And they annulled the election in 1993. And we didn't, our life just went overboard. So I didn't get to have kids that I know of until 2007 was my first job, and then 2009 was my second. Like I said, I am not disputing that there might be kids out there that may not know their father. It's a joke, come on. But there's also the importance of planning, and that's why I mentioned that was all I wanted to do. I studied geography and planning. I wanted to be a town planner. And there are plenty of towns that needs to be planned. If you want to appreciate town planning, just fly into Lagos. And as the plane is descending to land, you will know that this is the most unplanned part of the world. Everywhere I've gone, including so many African countries, when you are arriving by air, you will see even signs of planning in parts of the cities that have not been built. You understand? Also, if you are coming into Nigeria by land, through Benin Republic in particular, there is a wall between Nigeria and Benin Republic. And because it shares the wall with Nigeria, you see holes in it. When you are passing through Benin up to the wall, you will see order. But when you get to Nigeria, they will ask you to disembark from the vehicle before you get to Nigeria that took you if you are traveling by land. And while you are waiting, just go and peep through the hole. You will know that Nigeria is hell. You will see custom officers chasing after chicken, immigration chasing after Okada. The place is chaotic. And it tells you that Nigeria is not well planned. At the same token, if you go to Ghana, there's a place they call Aflau between Ghana and Nigeria, the border. They have built it in the last 10 years to become a modern border, including massive supermarkets with duty-free. And Nigeria should have arrived there some 30 years ago. You see signs of construction that was supposed to be done to build a border between Benin Republic. But they will never complete it, because as soon as they complete it, there's no way our customs, immigration, and DSS and all the people there will be having a field day they're having now. So they refuse. So this country is being deliberately sabotaged. So what I was saying is that with 28 million houses we are planning to build for Nigerians, 28 million units of housing, the roads, the sewage, the drainage that will pass through these places, I can guarantee you that you are looking at some 2 million to 3 million, if not more than 5 million people employed. And these are going to be estate surveyors, real estate developers, you are going to find engineers, architects, all the range of people. And of course, if you are working in those areas, you have to see a doctor. And if you are working in those areas, you need lawyers. So when you are building real estate, every profession is almost going to be involved. It's a massive source of employment. So you are not doing Nigeria a favor by investing in mass housing and giving Nigerians real estates that they can live in. And I want to say finally that it is a fundamental right to have a roof over your head. It's your fundamental human rights. It is one of those human needs that Maslow, what is it, Maslow? Hierarchy of needs. It's defined there, it's one of them. I've now heard that TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram is also part of the hierarchy of our needs now. So Maslow needs to go and redesign his needs. Let me just say at this point, thank you very much for the honor. Thank you for listening to me. Next year is a crucial year. As we say every election season, that's what politicians say. That this next election will make or mark Nigeria. since 1979 that we started doing the election. But I think that of 2022 is a bit more urgent for Nigeria because the people of Nigeria are about to go extinct if we elect some set of leaders in 2022, and one of them is the owner of this hotel. Thank you very much.
Nigeria, they use computer. The leaders of Nigeria, they use radio where they turn the knob.